Do you believe that every saint had a past and every sinner has a future? According to the law of Moses, the act of adultery was punishable to death by stoning. This death penalty was also prescribed for other types of sins, including persistent disobedience to parents, breaking the Sabbath day, and blasphemy. Today, this punishment seems to be too cruel and inhuman. Before anyone was punished by stoning, the accused person was tried before the Jewish leadership. At the judgment, at least 2 witnesses should testify about the particular wrongdoing. If the verdict was found guilty, the witnesses who accused this person had 2 options. First one is, while the verdict is still being guilty, he could be forgiven by the witnesses. Then he receives mercy and his life is spared. If the witnesses refused to forgive the verdict, they were required to cast the first stone. They could not just stand by and watch. Later, if the accusation was discovered to be false, the witnesses could also be stoned. In the Old Testament, mercy was the outcome of almost all the cases where law required capital punishment. If stoning had been chosen every time a law was violated, then a very few Jews would have remained. This week, we have the Gospel of John chapter 8. There we see that Pharisees and the scribes have brought before Jesus a woman who had been caught in the very act of adultery. They put her in the middle of the crowd and demanded an answer from Jesus what they should do to her. According to the law, this sinful woman should be put to death. They tried to put pressure on Jesus to act in accordance with the letter of the law. Pharisees tried to trap Jesus with his answer. If Jesus asked them to stone, it would be contrary to his own teaching of mercy and forgiveness. Now, this poor woman's life completely depends on the decision of Jesus. Jesus knew that it was not the woman, but he was the target of the scribes and the Pharisees. In this case, he shows great compassion to the one who has no support and love. When everyone around is standing with a stone in their hand, Jesus extends his hands of mercy and forgiveness to her. Jesus told them, "Let anyone among you who has no sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Jesus bent and wrote on the ground the new law of love and the precept of new way of life. It is something like God wrote the law with his finger on the tablets of stone for the people of Israel. Jesus asked the accusers to look into their own conscience and examine their way of life before condemning the other. If this woman was an adulteress, there should be more men involved in this sin. Jesus exposes their hypocrisy, and the crooked men started leaving one by one. Finally, Jesus looks at the eyes of the poor sinful woman with lot of compassion. He did not ask for a clarification about her sins. He asked, "Woman, has no one condemned you?" When she said no, Jesus gives his judgment of love, which is soothing to all of us. "Neither do I condemn you. Go and do not sin again." Today, our world would be a better place to live if we can stop condemning our fellow brothers and sisters. Today, we don't take stones and throw at people, but our gossips, rash judgments, and rude criticisms are similar to stoning a person to death. A life can be ruined because of our words and reactions. Our bad comments on others may not break their bones, but still they can do a lot of damage to their lives. Therefore, we should stop passing unhealthy judgments and rash comments on others. On the other hand, none of us are pure and holy. All of us have fallen into various sorts of sins. In our life, we find many people who have made blunders and ruined their lives. When we find such people, we have to be sympathetic upon them. Especially, we cannot discriminate sex workers, homosexuals, adulterers, alcoholics, drug addicts, and those who have fallen into other vices. We should condemn only the sin and not the sinner. Let us forgive and pray for the conversion of those who are leading a sinful life. Let us remember, every saint had a past and every sinner has a future.